Welcome to Say More, the podcast where we expand the conversation around what it means to be human. I'm here with my co-host, Emily Lawyer, licensed professional counselor, and I'm Andy Spray, her licensed professional best friend. We're answering your real questions, and while we're at it, creating a community where we can grow together and learn how to connect more to self in order to connect more to others and more to God. What's up? Hello.
Guess who's back?
Back again. I thought you were going to finish it.
Guess who's back? Guess who's back? We're back.
We didn't even really leave. I mean,
How can people miss us if we never go away?
We never really left. You might prefer we give you more time to miss us. But we're back for season 4.
Here we are.
This is episode 1 of season 4. Very exciting.
So exciting.
That we have come this far.
Really, really and truly.
And in that spirit,
Okay.
I'm declaring this Greek week.
Oh. All right. Keep going.
Okay.
Where are you going with that?
Here's the thing.
Initiation?
And exactly. We're basically seniors now.
Oh, I see.
We are bringing you along with us. Now, anybody who's listened to this podcast for more than 30 or so seconds can tell Emily and I were not actually a part of Greek life in college. I think that feels pretty obvious.
It is virtually vibrating off of us that we were not part of a sorority.
Yeah. But we are part of this sorority and fraternity of like-minded people who are coming along for the journey.
I like that. I'm
in the Greek state of mind also because one of the biggest movies of the year, Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, loved it or hated it, whatever. By the time of this recording, I believe you have still not
I still have not seen
it. Although I have made you listen to some of the music.
Yes, you have.
Specifically the Siren song.
Yes, you have.
Which lures the sailors to their death and is what I hear playing when I roll up on a Taco Bell. That movie is haunting in a good way. I really liked it. But there's all this Greek stuff going on, and what made me think, did you ever go through a Greek mythology phase as a kid?
Oh, well, what was the book? I did not, just quick answer, but what was the book that was like Greek mythology that was in young adult?
Percy Jackson.
Percy Jackson, yes. And I knew a lot of people who were so into Percy Jackson.
It's funny. I didn't even think of Percy Jackson because that was sort of after my young adult. I think it came out when I was older. And so I think it was for younger. I don't know. I never read it, basically. But I feel like a lot of kids go through a Greek mythology.
I was more of a Babysitter's Club kind of gal.
Well, no, I read Babysitter's Club too, but you didn't get in. Is this just me?
No, I think, well, I don't think it's just you. I think I'm the outlier here that was not something that I gravitated towards.
When we were in 5th grade, we did ancient civilization. So I think we had to learn about it in school. And it was actually really cool because all throughout the year, you would build art projects based on the civilizations you were learning about, like ancient Egypt, ancient Rome. And then at the end of the year, we had a 5th grade museum, and you would walk through all of the things we had made.
That's cool.
And as I was thinking about it, I'm like, listen, history and making things out of cardboard and paper mache. Those are my 2 great loves. What? 5th grade cannot be beat. That was tough. But anyways, I feel like I was getting down on some eyewitness books, those DK books about Greek mythology and like learning all the things. Okay, maybe it was just me.
No, I don't think it was just you. I think like I said, I just.
It wasn't you.
It wasn't me. Yes.
Okay. Well, surely you know a little bit of Greek mythology.
Of course.
Okay. And we are talking about narcissism this week.
Yes, we are.
And
we're throwing our hat into the ring.
Narcissism, it is a topic du jour, but it is also a topic of yore.
Ooh, boy, how long have you been sitting on that one?
I literally just came up with that. That was pure improv.
Straight off the dome.
Whoa. Hold on. Let's take a moment for topic du jour and topic of yore. Sit and appreciate that for a second.
I'm so glad you're bringing this up, though, because I was actually going to ask you to wax poetic a little bit once we get into the meat of the episode about
Narcissus.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Narcissus.
All right.
First of all, many people would know his story. He was in love with himself. Right. I'm going to tell you that the actual story is quite a bit darker than perhaps I was reading about in 5th grade. Or maybe that they joke about in Hercules. It's kind of a dark story, like many of these myths actually are. But essentially, he does a lot of terrible things to people who are in love with him, and he stumbles upon his own reflection in a pool of water, and he's just so taken with himself that some versions he died, some, I'll leave out some of the colorful details. But one version, he's there for so long he turns into a flower because he can't sustain just being there forever, right? He basically has to die in some way because he's just obsessed with looking at himself.
The gaze.
And I thought, how, it's maybe almost a little too on the nose for today when everybody's literally looking at themselves on a phone 100% of the time. And you can't go to Costco without tripping over people who are vlogging. Have you seen this?
At Costco?
Anywhere. People are literally recording. Now it happens more at amusement parks or concerts, fun things you're doing.
So there's so many people.
Or they're FaceTiming or whatever it is. We are literally looking at our own reflections a lot of the time. So I thought, what could we do? A little segment on narcissism. Narcissism, kind of a heavy topic in some ways. I thought, how can we make it fun?
How do we lighten it up a little bit?
I want to know some narcissism we've witnessed in the wild. Okay? Now, you have often said to me, or I have often said to you, I think we share this, is that when I am at school, either visiting my children or working at school, it is a bit like being, like Diane Fossey, who studied the gorillas in the mist.
You have named that.
Because it is just fascinating to observe human behavior. Yes. So I'm calling this segment Narcissists in the Mist. And I want to know what you're out there seeing.
When have we spotted in the wild?
The
telltale signs.
Yes.
The behaviors.
Yes.
The patterns.
This is probably, lowercase n. I'm talking somebody who's taken up multiple parking spots. I'm going to get us started.
Okay.
I was recently on vacation, staying at a hotel up on the 18th floor, really high up in the hotel. And somebody had used 3 luggage carts and then just left them there. Do you know when you arrive at a hotel and you're like, well, if only I could get a luggage cart to bring my things upstairs. And I was like, how selfish, man. 3 were left in the, right outside the elevator. You could, doesn't even take very much to push it into the elevator and press the down button.
No.
Couldn't be bothered.
But telltale sign of, a narcissist was here.
I can
smell the scent.
Their presence is among us. I can sense them. What have you seen? What are some observations?
Well, one comes to mind for me, and this is probably the one that's most egregious. So maybe I'm hyper attuned to looking for the signs of it. But this is one that you hear before you see.
I hear before I see. Okay.
A faint sound of music.
Oh.
Or a loud voice that is somehow different than the din of human voices around you. And then you spot it. Someone using their phone without AirPods.
Oh my gosh,
and the one that is most egregious for me is someone who is conducting a FaceTime call on speakerphone.
This is what I'm saying. People who use FaceTime in public only use it without earphones in.
I don't understand.
Me either.
How that could be a enjoyable phone call for either person.
A full volume FaceTime call. Or what I see is people on public transportation watching TikTok, full volume. In a restaurant, full volume.
The rules don't apply to me.
Maybe we don't want to watch what you're watching.
No, I don't. I almost never do.
Oh, almost never. I don't want to hear your phone conversation. Of that, I'm certain.
Correct.
I do. We're in a waiting room.
Or on a plane.
You've ever...
how do you hear it over the roar of the jet engine?
I don't know, but I'm going to tell you, I'm guessing 3 out of every 4 people in a LabCorp waiting room is playing something on their phone. With no headphones.
That is so true.
That is my personal observations from a lot of years of research. That's where it's happening. And what the rules don't apply. This one really, grinds my gears. The Starbucks near my house is not a drive-through Starbucks. Well, that doesn't stop people from thinking it is. Meaning they just pull their car up in front and get out to go get their stuff.
Oh, right.
And it's like, listen, I get it. I ordered mine on my phone ahead of time too. And it would be so tempting to just pull my car up here. But then you can't see anybody. It's such a hazard. Kids are walking in between the cars. heaven forbid you want to get somewhere else potentially, and they're just stopping their cars to jump out and get their drink. And your drink might not always be ready. Sometimes those things happen. Oh my gosh. I'm like, can you, like the rest of us, you need to park and get out and go get your drink and come back to us.
An inability to recognize how this might affect my fellow human.
It's an inability or an unwillingness, I might say, to recognize. I don't care how this is because I need to get my Starbucks.
Okay.
And I get that it's tempting. There have been times I thought, ooh, it would be so fast. I know it's right there. And I go, no, resist.
Which is what we're going to learn about today.
Resist.
It's a temptation. Always out there. How about one where, again, I kind of see evidence of it instead of seeing the actual offense taking place? You drive along the road, litter everywhere.
This is what I was going to say.
Again, evidence like Diane Fossey coming upon a field of grass, and she says, I know it. I know one was here.
There's been an ape civilization nearby. Mine says people who leave things trashed. If you get up from your restaurant seat and you've got trash, garbage, food, ketchup everywhere. If you get up from the movies, I understand there's going to be some popcorn on the floor, but you're leaving all your trash, all your containers, stuff tipped over. Oh my God. How can you? It's getting me upset. I don't understand. And in the same vein, people who take this all the way to the extreme. I mean, of course, there's people who throw trash out of cars and stuff like that. But I'm going to say a sister of this or a cousin maybe of this are the gender reveal warriors.
Oh,
okay. My kids are teenagers. Gender reveals were like sort of just becoming a thing. And maybe it was like, oh, you send it to the baker and you could cut into the cake and see if it's pink or blue inside in the family. Because it's cute. Fine. I have no problems with that. Now, if you are not lighting a 40-acre forest on fire with blue smoke, somehow you've not celebrated your child enough. I mean, seriously, there's like confetti cannons and then people leave them out in the woods.
Oh, right.
Truly.
That's right.
If you feel the need to trash a public place to celebrate being pregnant, parenting is going to be a challenge for you.
And is it just us, or does it seem that the temptation to participate in all that, the pull just keeps getting stronger and stronger? Are we imagining it, or is there something going on where it is more prevalent?
I do think, because I can feel in myself sometimes, it's like, well, if everyone's going to do it like that, then I'll just do it
Of course.
That. And so I do think we've pulled more into like, well, fine, I just got to look out for me. You know what? This might lead us right into our question of the week. Should we do it?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Can you say more about narcissism? Is it a personality disorder? Is it on a spectrum? How can we tell? And what does that mean for me in my relationships?
Okay. So we held off on creating an episode around this topic because if you type in narcissism in the search field in your podcast app, there are over 20 entire shows that center just on the topic. We're not talking just episodes, but whole shows that are crafted around the topic of narcissism. And we didn't want to just add to that static. But now that we've been all growing together for 3 seasons, we thought, okay, we've got a pretty good foundation to work from when talking about narcissism. And I think everyone's going to hear today that we're going to need it. We're going to need that foundation to work from. So we're going to need a better understanding of shame.
Okay.
We're going to need some more practice with boundaries. We're going to need better manageability of our reactivity to engage with some of what we're going to learn about narcissism today. We're also going to stay with our signature Say More approach to kick off season 4, meaning we're going to expand the conversation around a topic where maybe we've been told that it's easily explained or that it's an all or nothing kind of thing. And then when we zoom out, we learn, oh, wow, this is much more complex than we thought. And most importantly, we get to practice managing ourselves in that complexity, to practice relating the way I want to relate in that complexity, to practice loving the way I want to love in that complexity. Okay. So I thought about taking a Mythbusters approach to this episode.
Great.
And that kind of worked because there is some truth in some of these things, but not really, because it's nuanced information.
So like some of the things we might be seeing
Some things
online.
are true, but not fully true. So then I was like, well, maybe we'll call it misinformation, but that felt boring. So I decided to name them Narcissism-isms.
Oh.
Something a little punchier.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe you've heard of some of these isms, maybe not, but we're going to look at a few of the most common narcissism-isms in answering our question. So Andy, why don't you go ahead and get us started on our first narcissism-ism?
I just want to say it. Narcissism-ism. That's fun.
It rolls off the tongue. Like I said, it's got a little more.
Yeah. Thanks for jazzing it up for us. keeping the students in the back alert and awake. Okay. Our first ism. Only some people are narcissists.
Only some people are narcissist. Okay, so we've started by going back to history class, and you brought us into that with the myth of Narcissus. The key part of the story is that he fell in love with his reflected image. Okay? The shimmery, beautiful reflection.
Listen, we all look better in diffused lighting.
So true.
It's true, right?
It's easier to become enamored with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to what we've learned about how all of us develop a sense of self. Remember, from birth, we learn who we are based on our reflection in someone else's eyes, our reflected image of ourselves. And we actually want an infant to see that this other person is delighting in him or her, adored, enamored, intoxicated with this baby. And in that, I learn that how this person sees me is tantamount to getting my survival needs met, right?
Right.
That's from our attachment episode, and we've also kind of touched on that on some other episodes. So therefore, how I see myself is tantamount to getting my survival needs met. I have a self-centered mindset marked by an excessive focus on oneself,
Right.
a deep need for admiration, and a lack of empathy for others. Textbook definition of narcissism.
So infants, all narcissists.
And it's appropriate for me to operate that way because that's how I can survive and even start to develop healthy, secure attachment. Some researchers have even coined this healthy narcissism.
Really?
Try that one on for size.
Healthy narcissism in the infants.
Correct. So jump into the pool, everybody.
Okay.
We're all on the continuum. We've already been swimming in the waters, whether we realize it or not. Ideally, we get a healthy dose of experiencing being beloved, admired, like I said, even enamored, plus a healthy dose of acceptance of my fallibility. Okay? Of my brokenness.
Okay.
We get that through experiencing appropriate consequences for my actions or experiencing healthy guilt, a recognition that my actions can result in pain in other people or that my actions can cross over other people's boundaries, and that someone ideally is able to be with me as I process that pain instead of someone rescuing me out of the pain or leaving me consistently alone in my shame. Ideally, we get both. I can develop a healthy recognition that I'm not the only person who has needs, and I can be okay with that.
So we all start as narcissists, and that's actually a healthy place for a baby to be.
In order to survive.
And hopefully we grow and develop some other awareness of how we fit in the greater place in the world in terms of our consequences of our actions or what we do impacting people. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. The most perfect place that this shows up is in our relationship with God.
Okay.
The closer my relationship to Christ, the more I can accept that I am both loved beyond imagination and deeply flawed.
Right. Okay. So you're saying we've got to hold both of those things.
I can begin to normalize being accepted and loved in all of my imperfection. I can accept the reality of both. I can learn to trust that I can show up wildly imperfect and still get my relational needs met.
Okay.
Okay? However, if things go awry with either or both of those, and I think things can go awry both with nature and nurture, both environment and sometimes just what we've inherited genetically. If things go awry with either, more importance starts to be placed on protecting an image, and that's where things can start to get dangerous.
Okay. So our first ism of only some people are narcissists, you're saying, well, no, because that's how we all start.
Not so much.
So therefore, sort of, we are all in the pool. And when things or if things go awry and we start to do preserving our image, that's where things can get tricky.
That's it.
All right. Our next ism, narcissism. If someone is selfish, it means they're a narcissist.
Okay. So now let's start to look at what happens with that image management.
Okay.
With needing to protect that image, which again, we're all going to find ourselves somewhere on that spectrum. Sometimes even depending on the moment, from moment to moment, or on the developmental stage of life, or the context, whether I'm with certain people, or I'm at work, or at church, or in my relationship with God, or on a date, or with my spouse, or online. There's tons of variables that could activate that need for image management, where I become totally consumed with my own image and whatever is needed to protect that. Okay? Where, let's just go ahead and name it, I am self-absorbed or selfish and acting out of narcissism.
When I am self-absorbed or selfish, I am acting out of narcissism.
Because I am focused solely on protecting the image that whatever I feel is necessary to get those needs met. Okay. Best case scenario, I can recognize that I'm doing that pretty quickly or easily. And then I'm also pretty adept at stepping into self-awareness instead of self-absorption. Mm-hmm. Self-awareness can look at the real. Self-awareness can look at the hard authenticity, the painful reality from the front. And then I can take responsibility for my emotions or take responsibility for what my emotions are motivating me to do. And I can course correct. Best case scenario. Okay.
How often does that happen?
Okay. For some of us, due to a bunch of different reasons, again, including genetics and wiring and upbringing and environment, it's going to be harder to do that.
Okay.
To look at reality is going to feel too unsafe. It's going to feel too disorienting or too terrifying. So I have to stay focused on this manicured image of myself instead, because that's who I believe I have to be, or I'm entitled to be, or perceived to be. I have to stay focused on preserving that image because that's the way I feel safe or can feel that I can be loved or accepted or get my needs met. Okay. And when the need to protect or maintain that image means crossing over boundaries or crossing over into someone else's yard, then we've got to take note.
Okay.
When whatever I'm doing to protect that image means I'm starting to infringe upon someone else's property, someone else's personal space, someone else's emotions, someone else's beliefs themselves, right? When that starts to cross over, we've got to take note. That might show up as increasingly rigid or extreme presentations of defensiveness. It might look like lying. It might look like blaming and shaming, passive aggressiveness, or being emotionally cold and distant. It might look like varying levels of control over others or over details or circumstances. It can escalate to verbal berating, high levels of entitlement, meaning no matter the cost to anyone else. And the more extreme and rigid the self-interest or the self-absorption, the less I'm able to care or even notice others or what they're feeling or allow them to be noticed. There's just no room for it.
Right.
I need all of the resources to go towards managing this image. And it can escalate to threats of carrying out physical or sexual violence, grandiose beliefs about self, to the level that I am above everyone and everything. No rules apply to me ever.
Wow.
All must bow down and worship the great and powerful Oz. So again, depending on how rigid or extreme that need to protect the image is, these are some of the more rigid or extreme behaviors that we could see that would come along with that narcissistic behavior. And again, we also see them showing up in more mild ways, right? They happen because we're human. But if I've developed manageability with my narcissism, they happen less frequently or less intensely. And when they do, I'm able to own it and do something different, all the way to these more intense and rigid manifestations, which is low manageability of my narcissism, which in the most extreme cases would be a diagnosable narcissistic personality disorder.
So back to our question, and I remember this question coming in. They were asking about it being a spectrum. Is that how you would label it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're saying, I mean, I know everybody's in it to some degree, and you're saying it is a spectrum.
Yes.
Obviously can go all the way up to a personality disorder,
Correct.
a diagnosable condition, but low levels to some degree, we are all managing our image, managing how other people see us, and using our resources. And then depending on how much that takes over or how much that crosses into other people's boundaries,
that's it.
We're moving further into the spectrum, because I will tell you, online, everybody's getting labeled a narcissist.
I know.
It's happening.
And that's why we're calling them isms.
Yeah.
Because in some ways that's true. In some ways that's not true.
In some ways everyone is a narcissist, but in other ways not everyone.
Everybody has narcissistic personality disorder.
Right. Well, if you ask the internet, everybody does. Everybody you've ever dated, every parent you've ever had, every teacher you ever worked with, every sibling you've ever had, they all have it.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to get a little bit more into why that possibly could be the case.
Okay. So should we get to our next ism?
Let's keep going.
Okay. So narcissists don't feel shame. Okay. So they need to feel shame in order to change. So our next ism, narcissists don't feel shame.
Don't feel shame. Okay. Again, this is why I said that I think it's going to serve us really well to have 3 seasons of learning.
Okay.
3 seasons of awareness under our belt. Quick refresher about how horrific shame feels.
Yeah, remind us.
It feels like dying and disappearing all at once. And so because of that, because it feels so awful, all systems go into hiding or cover up or running away mode when we feel shame. And then we develop layer after layer after layer of protection until shame can convince us that it doesn't even exist. When it comes to unhealthy narcissism, we usually only see what's above the waterline. We usually only see those boundary violations that we just named. Underneath the waterline, there is a mammoth iceberg of anxiety and repressed anger, and biggest of all, shame.
So not only do narcissists feel shame, they're sitting on a whole iceberg.
It is at the core of toxic narcissism. But the strategies and the adaptations to hide from or cover up the shame, which often the particular strategy shows up as pride.
Yeah.
AKA the judge, if you remember from our Guess Who game, where we cover up our shame by judging others.
Right.
And then those strategies can grow increasingly rigid to the point where sometimes they're ironclad. So where I fall on the spectrum can be correlative to, one, how much shame I feel, and two, how rigid I am in hiding my shame instead of being able to name it, feel it, and bring it into safe relationship to receive acceptance and love, even in the midst of my shame.
When you talked earlier about sometimes reality being too hard to face for people, would that apply to my shame is too hard for me to go face to face with?
Okay. It's too terrifying, too painful to face from the front.
Right.
I just don't, I either never developed the capacity to do it, or these ways of covering up or hiding have just become so ironclad and so strong that it's going to be really, really, really difficult to look at reality from the front.
And I can see your point about it being a nature and a nurture thing, that you would develop all these maladaptations for managing shame if you've never had a healthy place to bring it.
Right. And unfortunately, some research is telling us that we, as a society, we're both experiencing shame more often and suppressing our shame more.
Great. Good job, everybody.
Than ever before.
We're doing it. We're really doing it.
And so back to our little, kind of fun game at the beginning, or fun conversation, that would make sense with the advent of social media.
Yes.
That I am more privy to feeling shame all the time. And I have all these mechanisms or this technology to suppress or cover up my shame than ever before. So when I'm living out of toxic narcissism, it's not that I don't feel shame. It's that I'm treacherously unaware of what I'm doing with my shame. And the more unaware I am, the more likely I am to displace it onto other people in incredibly damaging ways. Right? Now, all of this may help explain it. It never excuses it. This can leave incredible pain and trauma in its wake, unmentionable pain that in some cases can require years of healing, which brings us to our last ism.
Okay, our last ism. A narcissist can never change.
Okay, all right. Can a narcissist change? Possibly. Okay, but we're also going to explore another more important question. Can I change a narcissist? Absolutely, unequivocally, no. Okay. There's a reason Al-Anon uses the mantra, I didn't cause it, I can't change it, and I can't control it. And I want to start there first, because this is so much of what we work to develop in the Say More community. We have been working for 3 seasons together in community to help us actually be able to live out that truth that I cannot control or change another person. For me just to throw that out, well, that and a quarter will get me a cup of coffee, right?
Right.
But for us to be developing the skill and the capacity to actually be able to live out that truth is what we've been working on together. When I personally see how many different resources are out there about how to spot a narcissist, or here's how you can tell what type of narcissist you're dealing with, or here's exactly what to say to the narcissist in your life, there's lots of focus on other.
Okay.
There's lots of focus on trying to outsmart or out-strategize the narcissist. Listen, growing our ability to call a spade is vital. It's just that sometimes I wonder if we're clamoring for more and more of this focusing on other, because there's a part of us that does believe I can change this person, or I can control the narcissistic behavior or the narcissistic tendencies. And why wouldn't I want to buy into that illusion?
Sure.
Right? I mean, depending on how toxic the narcissism has become, I might be desperate.
Yeah.
To believe that I can control
on what
them.
Your relationship is with the narcissist.
I might love them so much that I'm desperate to believe that I can rescue them from their own pain.
I probably do love them if I'm even considering wanting to change them.
That's a great point.
If it's a casual narcissist relationship, I'm turning around and going away.
That's a great point.
If it's a close friend, family member, spouse, I'm going to want to know what I can do to change that person.
Yes, even if I'm just wanting to control or change them in my own mind.
Sure.
So that I can soothe the pain that way. It even feels really powerful to label someone as a narcissist and maybe weaponize that label in an attempt to protect myself.
Yeah.
Especially when we can feel so powerless with a lot of the behaviors that come along with unhealthy narcissism. So I can bring a tremendous amount of compassion here that, this belief that me giving a prescriptive do X and then Y will happen, I can understand why that is incredibly appealing. We think if I can just use the right wording at the right time, then I won't have to deal with this anymore. And you will probably find a lot of people who will give you a prescription.
Okay.
My worry is that it isn't going to result in the true sense of freedom and empowerment that we're hoping for.
So it might feel empowering to label someone in your life a narcissist, but trying to get a prescriptive, I'm going to do this, this, and this is actually not going to lead to the empowerment you're hoping for.
I think long-term, like we're naming a true sense of peace, a true sense of freedom and empowerment. Instead, I'm going to get a lot more traction in putting my energy towards controlling myself instead. And again, I think that's why it's helpful for us to bring this particular learning in at this point in our journey. And we're going to link all of these previous episodes in our show notes about how to do that, how to practice controlling what I can control, like how to tell if someone is crossing my boundaries and what I can do in those situations. And let me reiterate, it is wisdom to recognize when that is happening by anyone, no matter where they are on the narcissism continuum or how they're interacting with their narcissism. For those of you who are Jesus followers, we're even encouraged in Scripture to grow our wisdom so that we can assess and identify harmful behaviors so that I can manage myself accordingly. The book of Matthew says, be wise as serpents and gentle as doves, right? Romans 16, watch out for those who put obstacles in your way contrary to the teaching you have learned. There are many verses in Proverbs about seeking wisdom and walking with the wise as opposed to fraternizing with fools. And by fools, it means someone who hates wisdom or ridicules wisdom and instead wants to stay in their patterns of destructive behavior, either to themselves or someone else. We absolutely want to grow our capacity to recognize when someone is displacing their shame or their pain onto us. We also want to be really honest with ourselves in what we're hoping for in acquiring that data.
Okay.
I always am going to be wanting to check in with myself. Okay. What am I believing as I am searching out learning? Or what am I believing as I'm ruminating about finding the right or the perfect way to say this? Am I doing that because I want to find something that actually feels most aligned with my values and how I want to show up in a relationship? Great. Or am I doing that because deep down, I'm believing it will allow me to control the other person so that I can try to feel safe that way?
Yeah, and it's occurring to me as you're talking, some of that might even be your own shame bouncing off, right?
Okay, keep going. Yeah.
Well, I was just thinking of like, people who are very casually diagnosing everyone in their life to be narcissists, like to what degree might that be your own shame or inability to look inward?
Yeah.
And just going, well, it's not me. It's my parents are narcissists.
Sure.
I had nothing to do with it.
To accept the reality of we all fall somewhere on this continuum, on this spectrum. And yes, and to feel shame about that. That's a really good insight. Yes.
So just when we're having the wisdom to make some of these observations, your point of like, well, what is the purpose of that? What are we doing with that information?
And we want to practice being really honest with ourselves to recognize that what I can control lets me actually be free. Staying focused on diagnosing or focused on controlling the narcissist behaviors keeps me tethered to that other person.
Keeps me tethered to that other person, and it keeps me from doing the work
for myself.
Say
it louder.
Yeah, I'm like, if the goal really for so much of what we talk about, if not everything, is manageability for ourselves. Constantly looking outward all the time. Well, it's this person, that keeps me away from that.
Yes, absolutely. Now, I'm not going to minimize that might require Olympic level boundaries.
Yes.
Work, depending on the level of toxic narcissism in my relationship.
And as you've named, it can be abusive.
And I'm going to go into that a little bit more. It's one thing to reinforce my boundaries when someone tosses mild defensiveness or an insult into my yard.
Yeah.
It's another thing entirely when I'm dealing with someone who has to protect their image so rigidly that they have created an entirely different universe to live in.
Yes.
With an extreme distortion of reality. And they 100% believe it to be the actual reality. And I'm talking like 99 other people see black, and this person has to live in the rigidity of their protected world, so they're convinced it's white.
Right.
Kind of reality discrepancy. And then the boundary violation that takes place is when they demand or manipulate or use shame or anger or exploit a power difference to try to control you to live in that alternate universe with them.
Yes.
And then if you refuse, you're a threat because you're a threat to exposing the armored facade, right? Or maybe they are quite crafty at cosplaying as empathetic or charming or selfless or complimentary, or systematically trying to convince you over and over, little by little, to doubt your own reality. We call that gaslighting, to the point that you start to ask, am I crazy? Is that actually white when I was sure that it was black?
Yeah.
I must be. So I'd better readjust and comply with their reality. And many of us can comply for years. That is part of my story. My people-pleasing susceptibilities and overactive guilt were like a moth to a flame. And then God used all that to heal me.
Yeah.
And he started to grow my self-awareness, to your point of, by his grace, I was able to start looking at what's happening for me in my compliance. And he started to grow my wisdom. And I remember the first time I saw a list of types of narcissistic tactics. It was like I took the pill in the Matrix. Which one is it? The red pill or the blue pill that lets you see reality? It was like I took the pill. It let me start to shift from this is all happening because something is wrong with me, or this is all happening because I did something wrong. It let me start shifting from that to this is happening because something is wrong with the situation. These boundary violations are not okay. Something is wrong here. And it took years, many years, and an overflowing, ever-flowing fountain of God's grace and a ton of practice and a ton of support. But I started being able to breathe before I responded instead of fearfully reacting. And I was able to say no, even when it was met with extreme resistance. And an aside, if you're listening right now and there is potential for your no to be met with a type of resistance that threatens your physical safety, I encourage you to enlist professional resources to fortify your protection in that. Ultimately, I did end up limiting my exposure to the relationship because even if you're very boundaried, it still takes a tremendous amount of energy to stay outside of the vortex that wants to pull you into this alternate universe. But by the time I got there, I was experiencing true security, true safety, true freedom, because I could respond out of a sense of secure empowerment instead of reacting out of my shame and my fear or trying to control the other person or the situation. So, can a narcissist change? Yes, I am proof of that. I'm on the spectrum just like everybody else, and I just told you my story of change. My protective mechanisms were porous enough that a tiny little bit of light could get in. A tiny pinprick of light could get in, and I was able to start doing something different with my shame and with my anger and with my fear that was under the surface for me. If there is even the tiniest bit of flexibility to do something different with all of that, then yes, there is absolutely potential for change. And that's actually the vast majority of people.
Most of us are going to be somewhere.
There's at least a tiny little bit of porous room for that light to get through. For 1 to 3% of the population actually diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder, and I only feel comfortable saying that diagnosis when someone has undergone psychological testing, because even the DSM criteria is just written in a way that it's too vague to, for me at least, to make a clinical diagnosis. Those protective mechanisms are nearly calcified. And sometimes the rigidity of the shame is just so stuck and so deeply grooved in the neural pathways that it will get in the way of even being able to do relational work in a therapeutic environment. So we're going to finish up with an excerpt from someone named Chuck Groat. He is a therapist, a professor, a researcher. I've linked his book, When Narcissism Comes to Church, in the show notes. It is an amazing resource if you are looking for additional learning on all this. But he talks about working with people in the clergy who have suffered a downfall as a result of their toxic narcissism. And he says they usually start by anxiously focusing on their behavior. Help me make the apology.
Yeah.
Help me make amends. When can I get back to work? When can I get back to my marriage? When can I get back to reestablishing my reputation? And I'm going to just read an excerpt because for me to try to paraphrase this would mess with the impact of his words. But he says, these aren't always insincere questions, but they can become another form of image management, a way to escape the unbearable experience of disorientation. So I don't rush here. Instead, I invite a season of not knowing, no strategy, no timetable, no guarantee that reconciliation will come or that status will be restored. And for many, this is terrifying. It stirs some of the oldest memories held in the body, the experience of being overwhelmed, exposed, afraid, powerless, and utterly alone. Most engage their narcissistic patterns as an old defense strategy around these things. The difference now is that they are not alone. They are safe and seen. Someone remains present with compassion and curiosity and steadiness, and they are held rather than hurried. And in that safety, something deeper than behavior has a chance to change. Isn't that a beautiful way to say it? And that is how healing and character and maturity grows for all of us. Carl Jung has a saying, it's called the curious paradox. Only when we begin to accept ourselves as we really are, can we then begin to change. That's what we worked with today, and that's where we're going to keep going in season 4.
So like so many things, we talk about the long, slow process of discovering who we really are is what's going to bring about our growth and our maturity and our increased capacity in our relationships with others.
That's it.
And if you're here, I'm guessing that's what you want.
I think so.
And as easy as it would be for us to go, here's how to spot a narcissist, look for them in your life. You've probably already had some thoughts come up as you've been listening to this episode. But hopefully, in addition to that, at least for me, I've also had it come up for looking inward and thinking, listen, we all have fear. We all have shame. We're all sitting on a reservoir of those things. So what can I do for myself to bring that out into the light and move towards a safe relationship, move towards bringing these things out into the sun for healing, for a greater capacity, so that when I do have a narcissist show up in my life, and maybe you already
maybe
do,
it's me, yes,
that I can be able to manage self. And like you, as a level 5 people pleaser, that was easy for me to get sucked into, and that is certainly part of my own story. But I want to be more capable, and I want to have more manageability for myself because I want to grow. And I'm so glad that you're here growing with us.
Same.
In our fraternity and our sorority of growth and change. This was a big one, so make sure you're checking out the show notes for more resources, more information. As always, drop us questions. Check us out on YouTube and social media. Leave a comment. Whatever you want to hear us say more about, we want to journey with you. And we will see you next time.